Hey everyone, Neil Mack here. Hey, I always crack up at YouTubers when they say things like, I get asked this question all the time, or thousands of my viewers have asked me for this. Well, I can tell you right now that the video today is about EDC, everyday carry. I don't get asked this question all the time, and thousands of my viewers have not asked me to do this video. It's only one guy, and that guy's name is John. I won't say his last name to protect his anonymity, but I said, okay, John, I'll do an everyday carry video for you on one condition. After I post the video, I will show up at your house at an undisclosed time on an undisclosed date. I will pound on your door, and no matter what you're doing, you have to stop and come out and dump your everyday carry bag onto your dining room table and walk us through exactly. You can't brush your teeth, you can't comb your hair, you can't trim your beard. You will drop what you are doing and dump it all out on the dining room table. So stay tuned for that, because that might be actually a fun episode. So everyday carry, EDC. I love watching everyday carry videos personally. I always love to get tips and tricks from just regular people. What I've found is that my favorite everyday carry follows will change it up every once in a while. Maybe it's seasonal, or maybe they're going on a trip, or maybe work versus personal. So what I'm going to kind of show you today is not necessarily my everyday carry for work. That's a separate backpack that I carry, and I've got a couple of laptops, and I've got some pockets for business cards, and maybe some literature about my company and what have you. This is more or less my everyday carry for personal use, and we're very involved in our church, Calvary Tabernacle, downtown Indianapolis, 902 Fletcher Avenues. You should check us out if you don't have a home church and if you live anywhere close by. But if you find me at Calvary, or at Calvary Christian School, or Indiana Bible College, or any of our parachurch organizations, or maybe even our campuses, is it Camp I? You're going to find these items in my everyday carry bag. So here we go. Let's get started. First off, I'm not necessarily a brand snob for some things. Golf clubs, yeah, brand snob. Fountain pens, 100%. I'm only going to use a certain type. Notebooks, yeah, I'm pretty picky about my notebooks. One thing I'm not really picky about is pocket knives. Now, I will absolutely always have a pocket knife in my everyday carry, whether it's in my pocket or it's in my bag. I've got a couple here that are Guides-Man brand. They're from Menards. Every once in a while, I'll just pick up a little pocket knife from Menards, because they've got a bunch of inexpensive and a lot of different styles and brands and useful little pocket knives. So Guides-Man, these three just happen to be Guides-Man. Not that that even matters, and you might even be able to get Guides-Man from some other retailer. I can't tell you how many times, probably on a weekly basis, somebody around me says, oh, does anybody have any scissors? I have a snag on my button, or I have, oh, heaven forbid, if we have any Amazon boxes to break down, Sonia Mac. I wonder if that ever happens at our house. There is one knife, though, that I actually love, if there is a brand that I'm kind of committed to, and that's Buck Knives. I don't know the history of the company that well, but they make some of the coolest looking, classic, traditional, and best performing knives out there. I have one that I use in my hunting bag that I've actually processed full deer with. It's a little bit larger than this. It's not in my everyday carry. This is just a little buck knife. It has about 3 or 4 blades, super sharp. And then there's a couple of knockoffs that I carry every once in a while. This is a little larger than I might carry on a daily basis. But what I like to do is keep my knives clean, because at any given moment I might cut an apple when I'm on the road, or I might cut down and break down an Amazon box, and I don't want to peel or cut an apple or another piece of fruit or a food item with something that I've been cutting cardboard with. So I rotate in and out a bunch of different knives, and I always clean them, and I always keep them absolutely razor sharp. If you're not going to keep your knives sharp, then you might as well not even carry a knife. So knives are a thing. There's a couple other things too, and this may seem weird to some people, but I always carry a couple of snacks, and not for me. So I have a couple of little kids at church. They're some dear friends of ours, the Normans, and their little daughter and son. And it's kind of been our little thing since they were, it's been going on for a couple of years. I'll always bring some sort of a snack. And so I have these go-go squeezes and a couple of little beef jerkies. And it's always kind of disappointing when they're not there, or maybe we go to an early service, they go to a later service. But when we see each other, they always kind of like, in a really cool, connected way, they look like, hey, did he bring us a snack this time? So just trying to make an impression on those little kids. And it's weird, I know, but I always carry a little bit of snacks for my Norman. They're not even related, but I call them my little niece and nephew. So that's the snacks. I also obviously, carry pens and pencils, and almost always you're going to find one of these mechanical pencils. I only use the 0.9 lead. Not that I'm a snob, it's just that I'm too clumsy to use 0.5 or 0.7. I've been using these Pentel mechanical pencils for a number of years. The eraser comes out. They has a pretty thick barrel, so you can really load up the 0.9 leads. And, sketching, writing, all those sorts of things you can erase, of course, with a pencil. I normally would have a fountain pen. Occasionally I'll go through seasons or trends when maybe I won't carry one for just a little while. They sit here on my desk. And I'm not a huge fan of ballpoint pens. I like the Pilot G2, of course, gel. Sharpie has one as well. But this one was gifted to me. It's a Pilot Acro. It's a little thinner barrel than what I'm kind of used to. But I like it because it does help to conserve space, because later when I show you the bag that I carry every day, it's not the biggest bag. It's more like a small satchel. But I do like this Pilot Acro. So if you like ballpoint pens, man, Pilot Acro I never would have purchased this for myself. Someone gave it to me, and I found it to be, it has a metal body and very reliable, very durable. You can kind of beat it around. It's a great for everyday carry just because of its durability. I'm also a person that does not like to have things in my pocket. That's why I carry my bag. And I don't know if it's awkward or weird for a man to carry. It's kind of like a merce. It's kind of like a big purse. But it's super masculine looking, which I love, and I'll show you in just a second. But I'm a metal wallet guy. And I switched to the metal wallet maybe 6 or 8 years ago. And I just love how slim it is, how sleek. This one is, I think it's ARW. It has it kind of like imprinted on the clip. I'm not necessarily a snob when it comes to the metal wallets. I think I saw one the other day at AutoZone. So you can get these anywhere, super durable. This one's kind of dented a little bit because, crazy as it sounds, I literally drove in a tent peg with it one day, and I thought, oh, this should work. It's probably durable enough. Well, it's still together. This has been 4 or 5 years that I drove in that tent stake. I'm not sure if you can see the denting, but it is still intact because it's a metal wallet and it's super durable. And I love the fact that if you're going to carry something every day, it needs to be very durable. Another thing that I never would have purchased for myself, my buddy John, who I will pound on his door one day, is this little can of book darts. And it's not what it sounds like. A book dart maybe kind of reminds you of something that you would throw at books. That's not the case. It's just these little metal clips, and they're kind of folded in half. They're super thin. You actually could injure yourself a little bit if you're not careful. But basically, they're bookmarks, and you just slide them in on a page. They're great for, they're sleek, they're small, they're super lightweight, and you can mark the pages in the book that you're working on, and then you can remove them. Some people don't like them because, if there's something that rubs up against the edge of your page frequently, then it could possibly pull those book darts off. I think it's worth it, the risk of that happening. They're just super cool. They're not like a massive classic bookmark that we might have made back when we were in kindergarten, for Father's Day, Mother's Day. They're really sleek, they're really small, they're lightweight, and you can just chuck it in your everyday carry bag. So thanks, Don. Great gift idea. I never would have thought to get those for myself. Another little item that I try to carry all the time, and I know this is probably kind of weird, but I carry a little protractor, and it's not necessarily because I'm always out finding angles, but I do like to not necessarily sketch because I'm not a great artist, but I take a lot of notes. And sometimes I like to use this to underline in my Bible, or sometimes I'll use the arc or some of the other shapes on this thing to create shapes on notebook paper, to create, charts and graphs and just different shapes and sizes. Also, I usually keep a ruler as well. This one just happens to have all the books of the Bible. Not that I don't know what they are, but it's kind of a nice little reference. And then it's just a 6-inch ruler that you can also use for shapes. It's lightweight. I don't necessarily need it because I have the long straight edge on the bottom of that protractor, but it's just kind of like a redundancy. 2 is 1 and 1 is none, just in case something were to happen. And then another thing, you'll notice a little bit of a theme. This is also a gift. I never would have purchased this for myself. It's called the Wallet Ninja. It's like a credit card sized piece of really durable metal, and it has a bunch of different features. It's got a little ruler on it that's about 2 inches. It's got a tiny little screwdriver on the end that you could use, small screws, maybe eyeglasses. It's got a couple of like hex cutouts that you could maybe even use for nuts and bolts. It's got a couple little shapes here. That's a bottle opener actually, but believe it or not, I've used that shape as well in note taking, just to kind of, call something out rather than just use the same old bullet points or arrows. I might just make that little shape and then write a word, or maybe write really small and put a catchphrase in there. So that's kind of cool. I like it because it's lightweight. It's easy to carry. It doesn't take up much space. It's very thin. And then of course it was a gift. So sometimes you'll notice a theme. Some of these things I carry every day were gifts, and it's always nice to remember the gift and the person that gave it. Almost always, you know what, let me go to this. I'm going to have a flashlight, and I have a bunch of different small flashlights all throughout the house, these tiny little things. And I know that it can be redundant because, everybody has a flashlight on their phone these days. I know, I get it. But nothing beats a really strong, durable flashlight. In addition, if you're ever in a situation where you need a flashlight, you might be in a situation where you can't charge your phone. And I think the lights on cell phones do take up a lot of battery. So there's never anything wrong with having a flashlight. Again, small, they make really powerful LED flashlights that just run on one single AA battery. And they make millions of different types. So I would encourage you to have a flashlight in your everyday carry. Next up, I'm almost always going to have a Bible of some sort in the bag. And I bring this one out because it's been one that I've kind of been working with lately. It's from Crossway. It's an ESV journaling study Bible. I think it's under $20. First off, it has the super wide margin. This is not a Bible video, but this is just to show you the size and the scope of this Bible. And then you've seen everything else that I keep in my bag. I tuck this in there as well, so you know that you can carry a pretty significant payload in your everyday carry bag if you have the right bag. Second off, I would recommend this Bible primarily because it has excellent margins. It's super wide margin, small print, but every single page has these little boxes that are sort of pre-highlighted with excellent notes. And it's a great study Bible. I was just in Acts, I think it was chapter 12 the other day, and on the bottom half of the page, because it was like the end of a chapter, it had this whole box that showed the timeline of the life of Paul, from birth through his imprisonments, through his shipwrecks, through when he wrote every epistle. And so it's really cool just to have a high-level view of some of the things that are happening that the publisher has called out as detail on particular pages, because sometimes you can just get lost in the words and sometimes you forget about those sort of details. So that's an ESV from Crosswell. That's always going to be in my bag. Almost done here. So I've been a huge fan of Levenger, and Levenger is a company that makes these disc type notebooks, but they also make a ton of accessories. I think they might even sell fountain pens and purses and notebooks and different things. This is a really classic leather small binder that has a magnet little clip on it. And you see the discs. There are lots of different disc notebooks out there. I'm pretty sure Levenger is the company that invented the whole concept of disc notebooks. I think Staples and Office Max each have their own. One is called ARC, A-R-C, and I think the other one is Tool, T-U-L. But it just basically has these discs, and you can get various sizes all the way from the big major notebooks, and the discs are just about 2 inches in diameter. These seem to be about 5/8 or maybe 3/4 of an inch in diameter. And you can interchange lots of different pieces and accessories. So this just happens to be a hard plastic page. It just serves as a writing surface if you need. There's dividers that you can get, so if you want to organize yourself in different ways. And in the notebook, I carry sometimes just plain notebook paper that has the right cutting for the disc so that it pops in. And then sometimes I'll use the lined and what have you. And then there are a couple other notebooks that I've been using a lot lately. And a guy by the name of Chad Brooks out of Louisiana turned me on to these. These are called Muji, M-U-J-I. and they're just notebooks that are really thin. Okay, so I do love a Lloydstrom, Moleskine, even the Exceed. I've mentioned some of these other brands on some of my other notebook videos. But the fact is they have about 200 pages, and that's a lot of notebook to be carrying around. These are 30 pages, and it's basically 15 or so, maybe if I'm doing my math right, really heavyweight, high GSM paper that's gridded, and then it's folded in half into sort of a signature, and that becomes one notebook. And it has a really strong fibrous tape that's on the outside. And then of course it's bound together with thread on the inside. Extremely durable. They're very simple. The covers are even a very heavyweight, sort of like a cardstock. And I carry a couple of these around with me all the time because I figure if I happen to lose 30 pages, I only lose 30 pages. But if I lose a Moleskine, first off, those things are over 20 bucks now. I think $25 for a Moleskine or a Lloydstrom. I lose 250 pages. That, arguably is very important work. With the Muji, you can carry you could carry 10 at a time if you wanted to. They're so small. But if you happen to lose one, then you only lose 30 pages worth of content. So kind of my process that I've been using lately is I have one that's simply identified with just stickers on the front. This is my idea notebook. And this notebook, I have basic content topics and studies that I want to do and different ideas just with a simple description, maybe a bullet point. For example, I have notebook reviews, and I'm going to do a YouTube video sometime this season and on the concept of firsthand experience, and another one called Pathway Out of Prison, another one, Don't Believe Your Own Narrative. And some of these may have already been done by now, but this is just literally an idea list. So things that I want to do or think about, projects, concepts, things that I want to study, things that I want to learn about, things that I want to work on. And then the other one that doesn't have any stickers is kind of more of the workbook. And in this one, I actually maybe would pick an idea from my idea list, and here's where I brainstorm it. I think Jordan Peterson said, writing is thinking. So I might have a concept where I'm just working through something where I put the idea on the top and then I think through all the things that need to be done or all the things that need to be thought about or different parts and pieces of a project or maybe a study or a video series or something that someone has asked me about, and I just want to kind of collect my thoughts. So one serves as a workbook and one serves as kind of an idea book. And then it's all housed, of course, in the Levenger. Levenger has a ton of styles. Ladies, they have really feminine versions. They have really high-end, classy, really well bound. This is very simple, just simple brown leather, but I just love it because it's durable. I love how the leather develops a patina over time. It does have a couple of zippers that you might have seen, so it does serve. Sometimes I'll throw a key in there. Sometimes I'll throw one of the rulers in there, and it all works really well. So Levenger is a great brand and a great product. Occasionally, even sometimes I'll use a clear envelope that's cut out for the disc. And like, for example, I'm going to a trade show this week. I might collect all the business cards that I get, or maybe little notes that I might have collected throughout the day. I'm a digital guy, but I still use paper. And so to keep everything, maybe expense report receipts and different things, it's just a packet that you can see what's in there. It doesn't just go into a black hole and you never know where you put something. That's how things get lost. So I do love to use the clear envelope every once in a while. Maybe not every day, but you do have that option to kind of throw that in there. Okay, last but not least, this might be my prized possession, one of my prized possessions. It's the bag that I actually carry for my everyday carry, EDC, that the thousands of followers have asked me about. Not. So this is a satchel, and it's manufactured and sold by the Saddleback Leather Company. This one was made in May of 2022. It has it stamped right there on the back. You'll notice it's kind of beat up a little bit. It has kind of this leather armor on the back. This one is called the Indiana satchel, and it's modeled after Indiana Jones. And I just looked this morning. They don't even make it anymore. But if you look, if you Google search Indiana Jones bag, it's going to be basically this same shape, basically this same size, a little bit different material, a little different design and layout. But apparently the bag that he actually carries was a gas mask bag during World War II. So this kind of does resemble that rugged green sort of military looking. Now it's made from a fabric that comes from Scotland, and it actually resembles, it's not the actual, but it resembles the same fabric that ancient Scottish shipping vessels were made from. So it's super durable. It's been treated with wax, so it's very waterproof. And of course, over time, as you use it, your finger grease kind of gets on it, kind of develops a little bit of a patina. It's just so cool and indestructible. It has super over-engineered leather bindings and accessories. This kind of goes, it just kind of clasps in that metal bracket or fixture thing there, and then you just pull the little loop down. It's got a, again, over-engineered. I think I could tow a vehicle with this strap, and it's got all these metal like carabiners and brackets and rivets and all these parts and pieces. It's just so durable and rugged and masculine, I think. Now, it's only like a 10 by 11 technically, but it's not rigid, so you can kind of, really just pack stuff in there. Very simple. It just has a big opening that you just jam stuff in, like the Bible and the Levenger. And then it has a back pocket, and in that back pocket is where I'm tossing like, all the thin things, and I'll throw a knife in there, and my book darts, and then my flashlight, and then I throw my Levenger and what space is left, and then of course don't forget the snacks. And I don't think this one is made anymore, so if anyone wants to auction this off, I think the starting price would be $500,000. I'm happy to, actually I wouldn't part with this thing for anything, because it's just it's become sort of a kind of a part of me, and maybe even I'm not really one that cares about personal brand that much, but it's kind of like, hey, if you see Neil Mack walking around, he's probably going to have this bag over his shoulder. Wonder what's in the bag today. So anyway, John, there you go. Everyday Carry, I'm coming to your house. If you don't want me to wake you up, put in earplugs, because it might be at 3 a.m. See y'all later. God bless y'all.